Well, after all that work and getting everything working on this car, it's time to take it for a drive and go over the history of this car. The current owner is a friend of my father's, and it was his father that bought this car brand new. It was either December of 86 or 87, but I'm pretty sure it was 86. He bought it at a Volvo BMW dealership in Canonsburg, PA. And he went in there to buy a Volvo, but then he saw this, and the dealer had already put the Zender body kit on it. So, I'm sure this thing looked awesome back in, especially, well, it looks awesome now, but especially back then. So he went and bought this instead of a Volvo, and loved it, obviously. And they didn't drive it much. I mean, it was just like kind of his baby. So they just took care of it, drove it here and there on nice days, And then eventually he sold it to his son, who did the same thing, didn't drive it that much, and then stopped driving it pretty much altogether in 2005 or 2006, around then. He just parked in his garage and, probably meant to come back for it the next summer, but it just never happened. And a little while after that, my dad took me over to this guy's house, because I'm into cars. This guy's got all kinds of old cars and everything. And I saw this, and this is the thing I was like most interested in there. And I told him, I was like, hey, if you ever want to do anything with that car, let me know and I'll help you out. And that's what happened. That was like 10 years ago, and he hit me up and he said, I want to get that car sold. I want to get it back on the road, go through it, just make it perfect, and then get it sold. So that's what we did. He did try to get it running. He put a new fuel filter in it and then tried to start it. And unfortunately, let's make a turn here. Unfortunately, the fuel injectors were clogged. So it was probably running on like 2 cylinders. He said it barely ran. So I took it home, and before I did anything, we changed the timing belt. It was the original one. It was actually in not bad a shape, probably would have been fine, but that's not something you want to risk. So changed the timing belt. I also changed the cam seal, which is behind like the distributor. That was leaking oil real bad. And also the valve cover gasket was leaking oil pretty bad. So changed all those, put that all back together, and it was good to go. One interesting thing is, this car is in such good shape, especially the rubber on it, which really surprised me, because I just don't, it's so old, but everything looks fine. Like when I was doing the timing belt, obviously take off the other belts, like the, alternator and power steering, AC, all that stuff. So I took all those off, and they were like brand new. They were the original ones. They had the BMW logos on them. They're from 1987, and that's just wild to me it's just in such good shape, because I had new belts, but the original ones look perfect, so I put those back on. And that's been the story throughout the whole car. Same with the water pump. Obviously, usually you would change the water pump when you do the timing belt, but this one was in such good shape. And also the one I bought, I thought it had a metal impeller. It did not. It was plastic. And the original BMW one does have a metal impeller, so I put that one back on. It also looked brand new. Did replace the gasket, obviously. But that's just the story all through this car, is like even the rubber in this car. I mean, this thing has the original tires, and they are just in immaculate shape. There's no flat spots or anything. You would never know that this car has tires on it that are much older than I am. It just drives perfect. It drives like a brand new car. It's not fast. It wasn't when it was new. I've had a bunch of these E30s with this engine, and I really wish this was a stick, because honestly, with a 5-speed, this engine's not that bad. It's pretty good with a stick. But with the automatic, it's not fast. But that's all right. That's not what it's for. The nice thing about these cars, if you can still tear it up on a back road, because once you get speed going, as long as you're not climbing a hill or something, you can maintain that speed. You don't have to slow down. You can shred pretty good in these things on the back roads. After we did the timing belt, to get it running, I went to the fuel injectors. So they were, like I said, most of them were plugged. A lot of them didn't even actuate anymore. They were just completely plugged up. So through those, my sonic cleaner for a couple rounds, that got them cleared up. Then I have a method I use where I kind of backfeed carb cleaner or fuel injector cleaner backwards through them, and which is the way to go. It just pushes everything, all the gunk right out the inlet, basically. So that worked perfect. Brought all of them around, put them back in, and then once I put them back in, this thing fired up like it had just turned off the day before. I couldn't believe it. It was cranking for a little bit before that, because I had forgotten to plug the coil back in, so it had fuel pressure, which is why I just started right up. But still, regardless, I was surprised. I mean, I went from having the fuel injectors out to it not running at all, put the fuel injectors in, got it running, and then I was driving it around in like an hour. It's just, and it drove like a perfectly fine car. The AC still didn't work, and the tachometer didn't work, while the gauges were kind of all weird. AC sort of worked. I did find out that that needed a charge. We put R12 in it. I had one can left. I figured this car deserved it. It did. It worked. AC's blowing ice cold right now. And then for the gauge cluster, it was the classic SI batteries were bad. And then I can tell in the service history it was actually replaced one time before, like in, I don't know, 99, 2000. But the problem is now is that like you can buy those rechargeable batteries and solder them in, but from what I've read, they're just not good quality anymore. It's really hard to find good quality ones. So there's actually a trick not many people know about, is you can just pull the little board that has the batteries on it and the LEDs, you can just pull that out and then all the gauges will start working. So that's what I did, and all the gauges work great. Except for the fuel gauge, which I think that's unrelated to the SI board, but it seems to only go up to 3/4 of a tank. So if you have a full tank, it just says 3/4. It seems to work down after that. I haven't had it much lower than a quarter tank, but it seems to work. You know, if that's something someone wanted to fix in the future, it probably wouldn't be that hard. But everything works. All the lights work, horn works, you know, all that e-brake, windows work, sunroof works. We got this little action here. You just lasso, yeehaw, and this thing will open right up. And I'll get this locked up. And I'm making a bigger right turn here. The radio makes a little bit of crackling when you adjust the volume.
Final state.
But it still sounds good, still works good. Just crackles when you adjust the volume. And I will say that's actually been getting better since I first got this thing back on the road. So I think it's just, you know, some little context in there. The onboard computer works great. Tells me the temperature right now is 74. AC's blowing ice cold. This car is just continuously impressive. It's really crazy how quiet this car is. Do a full throttle run here, and we probably won't even exceed the speed limit that much. Let me put it into S here for slow. This is quite the intersection here. Catch that Q3. Yeah, runs pretty good. Almost exceeded the speed limit. Impressive. Well, there you have it. This is what time capsule of the car. It's live right now on Cars and Bids, and I think the new owner is going to be happy with it because this car is immaculate. It's probably one of the nicest E30s anywhere. Definitely one of the nicest automatics because no one really wants those, but in this condition, I think that would be different. This car was a lot of fun to work on. I love working on BMWs, especially ones this nice. It's just, this car has blown me away the entire time about just how original and incredibly perfect it is. I mean, you don't see cars in this shape that are this old. It just doesn't happen. I mean, this is my 98, and it's a lot worse than this. So, this car is incredible, and the new owner is going